Hi there. So in this video, we're going to do a practice problem with externalities. This is actually an AP exam problem, and I don't remember what year it comes from, but I think it's a great problem to give you an example of what you'll be seeing if you take the College Board exam. So the first says, suppose research shows that more college education individuals receive, the more responsible citizens they become, less likely to commit crimes. I'd say there's probably a correlative effect here. I'm not sure that it's causal, but who knows, right? We don't argue with the College Board. Draw a correctly labeled graph for the college education market. Show the following: private market quantity, price of college, QM, PM, socially optimal quantity labeled QS, deadweight loss at equilibrium, completely shaded. So we'll start with A. Nice and big graph, right? Q and P, and then we have downward sloping demand, upward sloping supply, and we're going to put QM and PM, QM and PM, and then it actually wants, it wants the socially optimal quantity. So it actually is kind of telling us right off the bat, hey, you're supposed to have some other stuff on here. And so we can say there's a marginal private cost, a marginal private benefit, and we know that there's an extra benefit, right, that accrues as a result of college. And so we'd say marginal social benefit, and then we have this QS, which is the socially optimal quantity. And it doesn't tell us to put the P opt on there, so we'll just leave that one off, but it does say shade the deadweight loss. And so we have our arrowhead that points to the socially optimal, just like that. Then part B says, assume the government imposes a binding or effective price ceiling on the price of college education. Show it labeling the price ceiling PC. Does it increase, decrease, or have no impact on the deadweight loss? Explain. So if it's binding and it's a price ceiling, we know that price ceilings keep the price from getting too high, right? They say, don't you go too high. So it's going to be below the PM. It has to be below the PM, or else it's not actually, it's not effective. So we have to put our PC there. And it doesn't ask us to shade this, but I think it's useful to consider it as we talk through this second part. What does it do to deadweight loss? Well, if we said the price is PC, what's the supply curve saying then at PC? Well, this is the amount that's going to get supplied. So that's the quantity at PC. And so, well, if the quantity's here, that's even smaller than the market quantity, as opposed to the kind of socially optimal quantity. And so our deadweight loss just got a heck of a lot bigger, right? It added a huge amount of deadweight loss. And so that's why with things like positive externalities, where we're saying we want to have more access, right? Just telling colleges you can't charge more than X for tuition, it's not going to change because their supply curve is their cost of providing it. So if they're not able to charge more for it, then they can't add more seats. It's not going to make it more available. It would make it less. And so we'd have even fewer people going to college. So for B2, we would say it would increase deadweight loss because the quantity would decrease, right? So we could just say, the quantity would decrease. Then it says C, assume that instead of the price ceiling, the government grants each student a subsidy for each unit of college purchased. And that is actually what they should be doing. Remember, we talked about that the easiest thing to do is just get this MPB curve up to be the MSB curve. If we could do that, right, we're saying every time you take a college class, we'll give you $1,000. Well, that allows basically the college students to increase their personal demand up to where the social benefit curve is. And that could get us back up to the socially optimal quantity. So we would say C, will the new equilibrium quantity be greater than, less than, or equal to QM from part A? It should be greater than, right? Increase greater than the P, or greater than the QM. And that's just the idea of like a subsidy would shift that demand curve to the right or vertically up to where it is. And that's just how they would work. Okay, hopefully that helped you. See you next time.